Chapter 311 Huo Yuao's third martial soul. The skeleton quickly turned dark green. Right after that, it emitted an aching, clattering sound that made it seem as if it could collapse at any time. As Huo Yuao continued chanting, streams of grey air continued to surge from his body, flowing into the black skeleton in front of him. Upon absorbing these streams of air, the skeleton began to totter about. However, it only continued to totter, and not collapse. Everyone couldn't help but feel astonished upon witnessing this scene. Was 66 not planning on using his soul tool to take 98's attack? Wasn't he clearly using the power of his martial soul? Was his martial soul a skeleton? Furthermore, was he summoning a skeleton outside his body? However, why did none of his soul rings light up upon strengthening that skeleton's defenses? While everyone else was dumbstruck, Huo Yuao himself was somewhat astonished. As he used the necromantic arts his teacher had imparted to him, he felt that it was somewhat incompatible with his spirit eyes. His spiritual power was relatively strong right now. The moment he felt something was off, he immediately withdrew his spirit eyes along with its soul rings. Moreover, he suddenly felt as if something in his mind had shattered. Right after that, he felt a trace of enlightenment, along with a large amount of information that filled his spiritual sea. The sudden appearance of so many astonishing things in one's mind would definitely have struck any other person dumb. However, Huo Yuao was a person who had cultivated his spiritual power to the concrete and material realm. After a brief moment of astonishment, he immediately used his spiritual power to temporarily seal these pieces of memory like information in his spiritual sea. At the same time, he continued chanting his spell. A strange scene stunned the entire audience. Under the eyes of everyone present, a grey soul ring quietly rose from Huo Yuao's feet. Right, a grey soul ring that was filled with a deathly stillness. The instant it appeared, it seemed as if all of the light within the golden hall had vanished. A tall, faint figure appeared behind Huo Yuao's back. Although it was only a silhouette, and its facial features couldn't be clearly seen, the boundless aura coming from it stunned the entire field. Practically everyone seated in the center of the VIP lounge got to their feet at the same time, their expressions that of bewilderment. Even the female vice founder wasn't an exception to this. All of them quickly moved to the window, staring at Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao felt his senses immediately change the instant the grey soul ring appeared. The various spells of the divine law of necromancy that Calamity Necromancer Electrolux had imparted to him in the past began to appear clearly in his mind. Every single spell appeared like a construct or model, and the originally superfluous spells seemed to shorten. Now, he would be able to cast any of his spells as long as he followed the models within his mind. Huo Yuao raised the shield with his right hand. Due to the brief pause he had, the black skeleton in front of him had already exploded with a bang and turned into small fragments because of the corrosive decomposition cannon. The cannon charge then landed on his adjudication shield at practically the same instant. Unexpectedly, Huo Yuao put his shield away and placed it on his legs. At this moment, 98 finally saw the deathly grey in his eyes. As the person who was on the stage, 98 was a person who could sense the change in Huo Yuao's aura the most clearly. This was a choking feeling that made it seem as though his throat was being crushed, and the enormous pressure and deathly stillness made him suffocate somewhat. He could only increase the amount of soul power in his corrosive decomposition cannon and hope that it could take Huo Yuao out. After putting his shield down, Huo Yuao raised his right hand, gently tapping the air. He began to chant once again. He felt the soul power in his body roil about quickly, and the spiritual power in his mind surged forth in torrents. It felt as though something was simultaneously drawing out the spiritual and soul power in his body. A large, pitch black door appeared in front of Huo Yuao without any prior warning, and the discharge of the corrosive decomposition cannon inches away from him fell right into that door. That large door seemed as thin as a feather, but the corrosive decomposition stopped moving after falling into it, as though it had fallen in quicksand. Right after that, a mournful howl rang out from that door. With a wave of his hand, the door that had already fallen to the ground several meters away from him instantly stood upright. A grey figure pounced out from the door, charging straight towards 98. This was a metallic green humanoid with a pair of wings on its back. However, it didn't have a head. This sudden change of events left 98 greatly astonished, yet somewhat frenetic. He paused the firing of his corrosive decomposition cannon for a brief moment, then aimed it at that zombie. Chi-Chi. An ear-piercing shriek mixed with the poison mist caused by the corrosion in the air rang out. However, the headless zombie only paused for a brief moment when facing 98's attack. Right after that, it charged forward, ignoring the destructive might of the corrosive decomposition cannon. His body was tougher than cast iron. This necromantic spell was called the Spectral Gate, and its activation would create a door linked to the Netherworld, summoning a spectre that could aid one in combat. According to the memories that Electrolux had left him, the Spectral Gate could summon a spectre whose strength would range from a 3-ring to a 6-ring Orthodox soul master from the Duluo continent. The specific spectre that would be summoned, on the other hand, would be dependent on one's luck. The fact that the headless iron zombie was able to directly take on a corrosive decomposition cannon truly astonished Huo Yuao. However, he didn't dare to dally around. He quickly released another necromantic spell. A transparent grey whip appeared before Huo Yuao. With a wave, it struck the headless iron zombie. Immediately, the headless zombie let out a mournful shriek. A ray of light that was identical to it in texture was drawn out from its body, before merging back into it. This was the Death Whip, a weapon which could directly attack an opponent's soul. If it was used on one's own summoned specters, it would raise its combat strength for a brief period of time. After being struck by the Death Whip, a bronze tint appeared on the headless zombie's skin. It forcefully took another cannon shot, getting within 5 meters of 98. Currently, 98 was truly feeling somewhat panicked. Smacking his chest with his right hand, he instantly released a white soul ring that tossed the rushing headless zombie away. Nobody would have thought that the Elite Soul Engineering tournament would end up like this, but nobody could say that Huo Yuao was breaking the rules, either. After all, the round of 6 permitted the use of Soul Master abilities. Only, Huo Yuao's abilities were overly strange. These were clearly the skills of an evil Soul Master. If this wasn't an underground tournament, some of the Orthodox Soul Engineers there would have called him into question. However, this was the Duskwater Alliance, and nothing could stop the betting from continuing. Huo Yuao seldom used necromantic magic, but it helped conceal his identity within the Golden Hall. At this moment, the skill with which he used these magics began to improve. The headless zombie immediately charged forward again after being pushed back. While it took care of 98, Huo Yuao began to chant another spell. A red ring of light quietly appeared beneath 98, rising into the air. Right after that, a dark red spell appeared above him, and his movement seemed to slow somewhat. This was the Curse of Blood, a necromantic spell that could slow a person down. This spell had another terrifying bit to it. Once its target was attacked, the effect of the curse would flare up, injuring him even more. After casting this spell, Huo Yuao's chanting became even more resounding. As his strange chants continued to ring out, the illusory figure of light behind him became even clearer. One could faintly see that this figure was precisely the divine law of necromancy, Calamity Necromancer Electrolux. Naturally, only Huo Yuao was able to identify him. Everyone only see the blurry image of an old man. The strength of a necromantic spell was normally proportional to the length of its chant. The longer the chant, the stronger the spell would be. An intense sense of crisis enveloped 98. However, he currently had no way of taking Huo Yuao out. That headless zombie was simply too quick, and not only did it not fear death, it was even as tough as steel. The most he could do with the soul tools he crafted during this tournament was push it back, or even injure it somewhat. However, he wouldn't be able to take it out. 98 also understood that he needed to use a few abilities which were specifically strong against the zombie to take it out. However, how was he to find a soul tool that was specifically strong against it right now? Huo Yuao's strange chanting was like a voodoo curse to him. As his expression kept changing, 98 suddenly rolled on the ground, dodging the headless zombie's charge. Right after that, a ray of light erupted behind his back. The powerful momentum created by the soul thrusters on his back sent him flying straight towards Huo Yuao. At the same time, he activated a golden invincible barrier, and a pitch black dagger appeared in his hand. This dagger was a corrosive decomposition dagger, a close combat class 4 soul tool. Upon striking one's target, this dagger would quickly corrode and decompose an opponent's body and outer defenses, all the way until it pierced its target. 98 wasn't just a soul engineer who specialized in long-range attacks. He was somewhat capable in the field of close combat as well. Faced with the headless zombie's incessant interruptions, he realized that if this continued, he'd be finished if Huo Yuao used even a single soul skill. As such, he was forced to take a risk out of desperation. Glancing at Huo Yuao's wheelchair-bound self, he knew that as long as he could get close to the ladder and interrupt his mysterious chanting, he'd be able to end the fight. As long as Invincible Barrier was around, the Headless Zombie wouldn't be able to injure him either. The Headless Zombie was exceptionally strong and tough, but it didn't have any abilities beyond these two physical traits. Even though it was chasing 98 from behind with all its might, it wasn't capable of stopping someone who was traveling at full speed using soul thrusters. How large could the tournament stage be? Almost immediately after using his soul thruster, 98 reached Huo Yuao. He swung his sword Chi field blade downwards, straight at Huo Yuao's head. When he did so, he saw a trace of regret flit through Huo Yuao's eyes, before an enormous shield suddenly appeared and blocked his entire line of sight. Chi, a dark green layer of light instantly rose from the shield's surface. 98 gazed at it expectantly, ready for his corrosive decomposing dagger to pierce straight through the shield. To his astonishment, however, his dagger was the one that seemed to corrode when it came in contact with the shield. It was as if the tip of his knife had been dulled. Immediately afterwards, a ring of light lit up on the shield's surface and sent 98's body flying like a cannon shell. This was a Class 7 soul tool known as the Adjudication Shield. Huo Yuao had finally finished it after 10 hours of hard work and the use of his Life Guardian blade. Of the 3 abilities it had, 2, Reflection and Absorption, could only be used on material objects. They were useless against anything energy-based. Its last ability, on the other hand, was called Adjudication. Just like its other 2 abilities, it could only be used on objects. However, Adjudication was an ability that had been passed on by the Life Guardian blade. If used, it would instantly absorb the life force of any substance it was currently in contact with and destroy it. This ability was capable of affecting and all soul tools Class 7 and below, and was still somewhat useful against soul tools above Class 7, albeit with reduced effectiveness. This could be considered a godlike ability for soul engineers who specialized in close combat. With this shield in hand, why would Huo Yuao be afraid of any opponents getting close to him? He hadn't stopped chanting since the start of the battle. Following this brief interlude, Huo Yuao's chanting had already lasted for over 10 seconds. Finally, his chanting came to an end. When he did, his eyes had been tinted dark purple, and the enormous figure behind him froze momentarily. Immediately afterwards, Huo Yuao raised his right hand and pointed at 98. The moment he did so, a dark purple light covered 98's skin. Surprisingly, even his invincible barrier hadn't been able to block Huo Yuao's necromantic magic. As soon as the dark purple light covered his body, 98 let out a miserable howl despite being inside of his golden invincible barrier. He felt as if every inch of his body was melting. By channeling all of the soul power in his body, he found that the most he could do was slow the melting. Once he'd finished casting this spell, Huo Yuao's face turned somewhat pale. With the experience he'd gained from casting a few spells, he discovered that necromantic spells mainly relied on his spiritual power. They didn't drain much of his soul power. However, his specialty was precisely his spiritual power. His current spiritual power was comparable in prowess to that of a soul dueler, and yet, even with this level of spiritual power, casting that necromantic spell had instantly cost him nearly a third of his total spiritual power. The strength of his necromantic magic could be seen from this. This was withering, an extremely powerful single target magic. It directly struck the target's spiritual plane, in turn igniting the target's life force. This would create a mysterious elemental transformation that led to the target melting from within. Regardless of how much strength one possessed, one could only use the energy within their body to resist Huo Yuao's withering. If they were incapable of doing so, they'd wither away and die. Moreover, withering lasted for a full minute. Seeing that the situation wasn't going too well, the third elder, who was seated in the middle of the VIP lounge, couldn't wait any longer. He stood up and shouted, 98 admits defeat. Quickly end your skill. With a flash of light, the third elder then appeared above the stage and floated there. Huo Yuao shivered inwardly. He truly had gone somewhat overboard with his performance today. Fortunately, he'd only used his necromantic abilities. Who are you? What gives you the right to make a decision for him? Huo Yuao asked indifferently. If the third elder didn't care about the Duskwater Alliance's reputation, he would have charged straight towards the soul barrier. Instead, he shouted, I'm his teacher. I mean what I say. You'd better end your attack right now. Sure. Huo Yuao didn't insist on continuing. The elder standing in midair had to be at least a soul duo. He was an existence that he couldn't handle yet. He pointed his finger at 98 and ended his withering, feeling as if his skin had suddenly turned to mud. The latter immediately crumpled. The omnipresent feeling that his skin was melting had filled 98's heart with fear. In reality, the pain he'd felt had just been a false sensation. So long as his soul power didn't run out, withering wouldn't turn him into a withered corpse. That terrifying feeling he'd had was simply one of withering's effects. After all, it was mainly an attack directed at his soul. Following the death of Electrolux, Huo Yuao was the only person in the world capable of using necromantic spells. Who in the world could have experience against these sorts of attacks? Huo Yuao looked towards the 3 stunned referees and proudly stated, I've won. Bring my rewards to me. As soon as the defensive barrier had been lowered, the third elder quickly walked over to 98 and helped him up. After checking his body over and ensuring that he was unharmed, he let out a sigh of relief. When he turned back to Huo Yuao, his gaze was somewhat astonished. The 3 referees had already stepped onto the stage. However, they didn't walk towards Huo Yuao. Instead, they hesitantly looked towards the third elder. At that moment, another elder stepped onto the stage. This was the person who'd previously been called second elder in the VIP lounge. Your subordinates greet the Alliance Master. The referees all simultaneously bowed towards the second elder. Get up. Why haven't you given our little friend his rewards? Our Duskwater Alliance has always prided itself on its honesty, and would never go back on its word. The second elder, who was also the Duskwater Alliance master, had a stately appearance. After combing his white hair behind his head, he put an amiable smile on his face. This, combined with his fluttering white beard, made it so that he gave off a good impression to anyone meeting him for the first time. The moment he spoke, the 3 referees didn't dare to dally any longer. They quickly walked over to Huo Yuao and handed over both the Hinchan's blessing and the Darkness Green Dragon. No, you can't give it to him. That's my Darkness Green Dragon. 98 had finally woken up at this point. When he saw what was happening, he immediately got to his feet and charged over. Huo Yuao raised his right hand and pointed it at 98. The latter's face immediately became pale, and he ducked to the side. Huo Yuao smirked. Not anymore. If you're willing to bet, you also have to be willing to admit defeat. Are you trying to renege on your bet in front of so many people? The third elder's face immediately turned somewhat ugly. He grabbed 98, who was still trying to charge over, and slapped him. Was losing face in front of everyone here not enough? Follow me back. With that, he dragged 98 off stage and vanished without a trace. The master of the Duskwater Alliance smiled as he stood on the stage. Hello, young friend. I'm the owner of the Duskwater Alliance. You can call me Nangongwan. Nangongwan. Huo Yuao was somewhat astonished when he heard his name. He thought that Nangongwan was a girl's name. Greetings, Alliance Master Nangong. I'm delighted to meet you. He'd finally attracted the upper echelon of the Duskwater Alliance's attention. Although he couldn't see anything from the surface, the fact that he was speaking so amiably to him after seeing his necromantic magic said a lot about him. Nangongwan didn't say much more. He turned towards the 3 referees. All right, go ahead and announce the end of the tournament. Yes. The referee loudly announced, after a heated contest, the Duskwater Alliance's top 3 in this year's Radiant City Elite Soul Engineering Tournament have been decided. These 3 are 66, 88, and 96. Besides the prizes they'll be receiving today, they'll also receive the opportunity to represent our Duskwater Alliance in the final tournament against the other 2 alliances. With this, the tournament had finally ended. There were both happy and disappointed people. Some of the gamblers who'd been daring enough to place bets on Huo Yuao began to cheer loudly. Others, who'd bet on the wrong person, could only hang their heads dejectedly. Nangongwan walked over to Huo Yuao and smiled. Young friend, could we have a little chat? Huo Yuao's expression became vigilant, and he said, there's nothing we have to discuss. I've only come here to win the prize. If you want to have a chat with me, come and so when I'm the overall champion. Now then, according to the rules of the tournament, I'll be taking away this shield I've made. Even as he spoke, he was already looking towards the prize below the stage with a greedy glint in his eyes. Nangongwan smiled slightly. Naturally, that's fine. Since younger brother isn't willing to talk right now, we'll have a nice chat after you in the overall tournament representing our Duskwater Alliance. There's something that I'd like to tell you in advance, though. If you win this honor for our Duskwater Alliance, we'll give you an additional reward on top of the reward from the overall tournament. That's better. Huo Yuao answered. At this point, Hikaiju had already stepped onto the stage and started pushing his wheelchair forwards so that he could claim his prize. Nangong squinted as he looked at Huo Yuao, revealing a somewhat thoughtful expression. All of the doors in the Golden Hall were now wide open, allowing the various gamblers to walk out. After watching the tournament for an entire night, everybody felt lethargic. Once they'd retrieved their prizes, Huo Yuao, Hikaiju, Wang Donga, and Nana all walked back to the Qingsei Hotel. Huo Yuao suddenly squinted and said, "Little Dong, take me back towards the pub we went to last time." After taking 256 steps, take a left into the alleyway. Quick. Wang Donga didn't utter a word. She naturally understood why Huo Yuao was so nervous, thus she chose not to inquire about the abilities he'd used earlier. She continued forward as per his instructions. Huo Yuao closed his eyes and didn't say a word. After exactly 256 steps, Wang Donga took a sudden left, and was closely followed by Hikaiju and Nana. This was a pitch-black alleyway with no street lamps present. The moment that the four of them were enveloped in the darkness, all traces of them vanished. Qingsei Hotel, underground, VIP lounge. Teacher, I was wrong. 98 kneeled in front of the third elder with an ashamed look on his face. His expression was filled with regret and pain. Now that he'd lost his ranked carving knife, his soul engineer abilities had decreased by at least 20%. The darkness green dragon had been a priceless treasure. The third elder looked at him calmly and silently. 96 was also quietly kneeling next to him with his head lowered. Besides the three of them, the Duskwater Alliance Master Nangong Wan, the mysterious vice founder, and a few other middle-aged men were also present in the VIP lounge. Vice founder, what did you think of that youth? Nangong Wan asked in a low voice. A mysterious glint appeared in the vice founder's greyish blue eyes. He's very intriguing. He feels just like what we've been looking for. Nangong Wan was astonished. Are you saying that he could be? The vice founder nodded his head slightly. Yes, it's that sort of mysterious feeling. You didn't notice it, but earlier, his soul ring suddenly changed. He originally had 5 of them, but they suddenly changed into a single one, a never-before-seen grey soul ring. You have to realize that not even the founder and I can violate the rules of the Duo continent. We still have to have the same soul rings as other soul masters. And yet, he's let us see something that blatantly goes against these rules. A grey soul ring, and one that's very unique at that. This grey soul ring of his let him use at least 3 different abilities in a row. If every single one of those abilities were soul skills, that grey soul ring is incredibly special. Meaningful? This youth is very meaningful. Nangong Wan said, I've sent people to shadow him. Let's just see where he's heading for now, and who's related to. Since he's dared to use these abilities in front of us without any misgivings, he definitely has some kind of power backing him. He definitely has another identity. He's just using the more ordinary martial soul of his twin martial souls to hide his evil one. Only, we don't know what his evil martial soul is. The vice founder said, you did very well today by not inadvertently alerting him. I'll immediately report this to the founder and see what his decision is. Yes. The moment he said this, a black-cloaked man quickly entered the room and whispered a few words to Nangong Wan. Trash. Nangong Wan said coldly. The vice founder's eyes twitched. Nangong Wang said, somewhat embarrassedly, my men lost all traces of him after they took a turn into a rather dim alleyway. Go call Chen and over. Yes. The black-cloaked man withdrew, trembling as he did so. After a few moments, Chenin quickly entered into the room and kneeled. I pay my respects to the Alliance Master. The fact that Chenin had been able to become the manager of the Golden Hall naturally meant that Nangong Wan trusted him deeply. The latter furrowed his brows. Tell me everything that you know about 66. Chenon's trust for Huo Yuao had grown even more after seeing his terrifying power in the tournament earlier. He also knew that the Alliance Master would have a few inquiries after witnessing the earlier scene. Thus he prepared a few things to say. He hurriedly replied, this 66 and his brother 88 piqued my interest the moment they walked in. He then began to describe to Nangong Wan how Huo Yuao had killed a person in the Golden Hall, and how he'd been betting alongside his participation in the competition. By telling 90% of the full story and throwing in a few fibs, he was able to deftly hide the deeper relationship between him and Huo Yuao. Naturally, he wouldn't mention the fact that Huo Yuao had asked him to help buy a few rare medals. After listening to his explanation, Nangong Wan turned towards the vice founder with a much better expression on his face. Based on what I've seen, this Tang Wu's main objectives are to make some money and obtain some rare medals. It'll be easier for us to talk to him if we have something that he wants from us. He'll definitely come again for the final competition. At that time, why don't I have a chat with him and bring him in? The vice founder nodded. I'll observe him in passing on that day. Once I get back, I'll see what the founder thinks of him. Maybe the founder will even come to take a look at him in person. I hope that he's the person we've been looking for all this time. Brilliant Delight Hotel. The door opened noiselessly, and a formless figure quickly entered before quietly shutting the door. Only after the day had closed did 4 figures emerge from within the void. The light surrounding them distorted slightly, after which everything returned to normal. Hikaiju, Nana, and Wang Donga turned towards Huo Yuao. Naturally, Huo Yuao knew that the 3 of them were filled with questions. After pondering for a moment, he said, do the 3 of you trust me? If you do, don't ask. If I wanted to lie to you, I could have just told you that I used imitation to do that, but I didn't. What I can tell you, however, is that I'm not an evil soul master. Hikaiju patted Huo Yuao on the shoulder and took off his mask, disguise, and coat. I'm tired. I'm going to rest. Junior brother, you should rest too. He used his actions to show his trust in Huo Yuao. Second brother, this is for you. Huo Yuao tossed a dark green bundle towards him. Hikaiju's eyes lit up. He didn't decline and grabbed the darkness green dragon. Thanks, junior brother. With that, he left the room with a smile on his face. Nana nodded. Yeah, the sun's gonna rise soon. I'm tired too. Master, you should get a good rest. Then, I'll be going. In reality, Nana knew a few things about Huo Yuao's earlier actions because he previously helped cleanse her father and mother's souls. As such, she knew that he was somewhat capable in the field of souls. They've left. Close the door. Wang Donga helped Huo Yuao take off his disguise. Yuao, I don't agree. Her confusing sentence left Huo Yuao stunned. What don't you agree to? Wang Donga looked deeply into his eyes, and a rare unyielding look appeared in her beautiful eyes. I don't agree to you trying to enter the inner ring of the Holy Ghost Church. I can ignore the origins of that power of yours, but you better be clear that I will absolutely not agree to you entering the inner ring of the Holy Ghost Church. Huo Yuao's entire body shook, and he looked towards Wang Donga with a stunned expression. You, how did you know? Wang Donga pushed his wheelchair over to his bed, then helped him take off his clothes. After that, she helped him onto the bed and laid him down. Afterwards, she took off her coat, buried herself in his blanket, and hugged Huo Yuao tightly. I didn't realize what you were trying to do at first, but I finally understood after seeing that special ability you used earlier. You weren't just trying to obtain rare medals by participating in this underground tournament. That's just one of your objectives. Your true objective is to utilize the relationship between the Duskwater Alliance and the Holy Ghost Church to sneak in. Am I right? It's because of that ability of yours that's similar to that of an evil soul master that you feel so confident. You knew from early on that the people from the Holy Ghost Church wouldn't do anything to you after they saw your abilities. Huo Yuao sighed lightly. You're too smart, Donga. Wang Donga hugged him tightly and said in an abnormally stern voice. Therefore, I don't agree. Even though you have your imitation, and even though I can help you disguise yourself, don't you know that there are too many people in the Holy Ghost Church who are familiar with you? There's no need to mention anyone else. Even Teacher Xiao can easily recognize you. Do you really think that you can escape from such a powerful organization once your cover's blown? Huo Yuao became silent for a moment. Someone has to do it. The most terrifying thing about the Holy Ghost Church isn't their strength, but the secrets they hold. We don't know how the Holy Ghost Church is structured, nor how strong they really are. In a situation like this, we're taking them on blind. The day that the Holy Ghost Church decides to make their appearance, we'll be faced with the threat of destruction. I can practically guarantee you that they only have 2 targets. The Body Sect, and Shrek Academy. The Academy has given us so much, thus I want to do something for the Academy. Don't worry. Once I've obtained a basic understanding of their inner workings, I'll get out. You of all people should know that I do things properly. Huo Yuao was still trying to console Wang Donga. Wang Donga fiercely got up and pressed down on Huo Yuao's body, leaving mere inches between her and him as she stared him in the eye. She emphasized each word clearly as she said, since I've said that you can't do it, you can't do it. Your life is mine. It belongs to me. Wang Donga, you can go if you want, but only over my dead body. As Huo Yuao gazed into the stubborn and unyielding look in her eyes, he felt her warm body press against his. Wang Donga's body was very soft, and it seemed as though the 2 of them had fused together as she lay on top of him. Huo Yuao raised his right hand and wrapped it around Wang Donga's slender waist, sighing gently. Donga, who? Without giving him the chance to utter a word, Wang Dongda domineeringly kissed his lips, blocking the words he wanted to say away. Who are you? Our eyes widened after feeling Wang Dongda's slightly awkward kiss, but his lips softly melted into hers immediately afterwards. Who are you? Our shut his eyes and simply held onto her waist. At this moment, the only thing he wanted to do was enjoy her tenderness. Just like this, the two of them continued to tightly hug each other. Their kiss lasted for a long, long time. Promise me, okay? Wang Dongda lightly panted as she lay on his chest. Her voice had become soft, but now made him want to act tenderly towards her. Okay, I promise. Who are you? Our sighed lightly. In the end, he'd conceded to her again. Wang Dongda immediately raised her head excitedly. Really? You're not allowed to go back on your word. Yup. Who are you? Our smiled at her. Wang Dongda excitedly moved upwards and tightly hugged his neck with a happy expression. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.